Can you hear me in the back? Awesome. We're here to talk about passwords, passkeys, and why authentication sucks. So who here has used a password? All right. Keep your hands up. Put your hands down if these things don't apply. Who here has used a password manager? That is way better than most. Who here has used app-based multi-factor authentication? Okay, I'm really proud of this crowd. Who here has used a hardware token, something like a YubiKey? That's still a pretty good number. Who here has implemented WebAuthn? Who here knows the difference between CTAP and CTAP2? Good, because I don't. All right. Those of you who kept your hands up mostly till the end, you can be helping me out at the end when there are questions. So auth, what is it? It's authn plus authz, authentication and authorization. It's who you are and what you can do. This is a talk about authn. I'm not going to talk about authz. I'm not going to talk about what you're allowed to do. I'm going to talk about the evolution of our relationship with the trade-offs between security and convenience. We're going to cover the different solutions. We're going to do a high-level overview of what's out there, how they work, and the challenges they face. We're not going to talk about session management. We're not going to talk about federated identity, OAuth, OpenID, SAML. That deserves its own talk. And we're not going to talk about cryptography, math. If you're into that, if you were looking for that, you're in the wrong room. Michael's covering it over in Tackle. It's going to be a great talk. This is Minnebar. I won't be offended. That'll be far more technical. So, authentication. That's what we're here for. And that's me. So who am I? I teach people from diverse backgrounds with diverse skill sets how to be full stack web developers. I work at Prime Digital Academy. It's awesome. Yeah. My views and opinions, however, are my own. This has Prime, I don't even know if they know I'm doing this. I live in San Francisco with my beautiful wife and my sassy cat. And of course, lots of Dungeons and Dragons. So, who is this for? This is for anyone who has an online account, anyone who works in tech, and anyone who understands the basics of how authn works. You'll understand how authn is implemented, right? Well, let's get caught up. Authentication is just secrets plus math plus protocols. That's it. You choose the first two as a pair, and then you do the right thing for the third one for that pair. So we're going to be talking about the different methods. So now, this is for all of you. But let's get into some details. I'm going to cover the next bits fairly quickly and in not too great of depth. So hopefully we can spend a little more time with passkeys at the end and have time for questions. I'm used to teaching, so I want you all to interrupt me with questions. So why is this important? Liability. This is messy. Users don't really understand it. Companies don't really understand it. Many techies don't really understand it either. I don't mean the nitty-gritty. We don't have to understand that. Leave that to the folks, the experts over in Tackle. I mean the basics and the trade-offs. When you go sign up for a site and you have options, which do you choose and why? If you're creating a site, which options do you give your users and why? As an industry, we need to start talking about this so we can make informed decisions and best support our users and keep them safe. Because at the end of the day, we're all users. My goal is for you to walk away with enough understanding to have those informed discussions and to have an awareness of the trade-offs. At the end of the day, we all have the, I'd say the obligation, but also the right to have our information be secure. But first, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Email. It's a trope that security is only secure as the weakest link. And we've been using email links to log in for a while now, because they made it cool, right? Slack uses it. Slack is cool. It feels like magic. They call it magic, a magic code. Who doesn't want a little more magic in their lives, right? And it feels simple, right? And it is. It actually is. It's pretty simple to set up. It's really simple to use. But that's not why we use it. That's not why Slack uses it. We use this for liability. With this system, we don't have to store a user's password. That means we are not liable for a user's password. We're outsourcing it to Google or Apple or Microsoft or whoever handles their email. This works because our email is our online identity. It's the single point of failure for basically everything. As long as you can prove you have control of your email account or the email account associated with your account in my system, that's good enough for me. You're you. I can trust that. It's actually a pretty good system. Showing you control something that's uniquely associated to you is a great way to prove identity. But this isn't the only place we use this, right? It's not just to sign in. Who here has ever forgotten a password? Yeah, what'd you do? I forgot my password. We'll email you a code. Turns out, since things are only as strong as the weakest link, magic sign-in, most systems, no better, right? As long as you can click that I forgot my password link, you might as well just be using magic sign-on. In fact, I know people who they don't really have passwords. They make one up, they put it in, and every time they go to log in, they just click I forgot my password. And it seems silly, but are they really any less secure than us? I don't know. All right, so how does this work? A user goes to the site and says, I forgot my password, my email is whatever. The site makes a secret and stores it with an expiration. These need to be short-lived, otherwise they're not secure. The site then sends an email to that email address with a link or code, basically that's secret. The user clicks the link in their email, hopefully before it expires. Although email isn't instant all the time, right? Who here has had to wait for that email to show up? Yeah, that's the worst. Don't use this. Email says to the browser, here's the link. The browser follows the link, goes to the website, gives it the code. If it's not expired, the site will check it. Does it match what I stored? If so, welcome, you're you. Reset your password, or just welcome if you're Slack. Or if it doesn't match or it timed out, try again, click the link again. Ugh, I just want to read my stuff. All right, that's all fine, except there's two flavors. There's links and there's codes. And there's trade-offs between the two. Codes are vulnerable to phishing. A lot of these come with a warning. Don't give it out. That warning is there for a reason. Who here has ever had an elderly relative or somebody who's maybe not tech savvy get approached by somebody from Microsoft over the phone? Yeah. Codes are vulnerable to phishing. Links are less vulnerable to phishing, so maybe we should always just use links. Maybe Slack has the right idea. Well, there's a trade-off there. What if my email's on my phone, but I'm logging into a friend's computer or at work? The link on my phone in my email does me no good. So neither of these is perfect. If you choose to implement this, you really want to think about the type of system you're running and how your users interact with it. Is it on their personal device? Will they also have access to email? Or is email on their phone and they're going to log in on a workstation or a shared terminal? Make sure you have short expiration times for these. Otherwise, you're risking security. And when you send it out, remind them, don't give this out over the phone. I would say this is pretty darn secure. This works pretty well. The biggest downside I find, it encourages people to click links in their email. Who here has ever taken a corporate IT training? Was the #1 thing you're not supposed to do, right? All right. Yes. Okay. There's a few priorities. All right. Passwords, right? We love these. We know these. They're our bread and butter. That's something called a factor. It's one factor. It's something you know. A password is something you know. It's a secret. It's a shared secret. You and the system you're logging into know the shared secret. if you can prove to the system that you know the secret, you're you. Sounds good? So here's how it works. A user creates a secret, any old way. Monkey123, your birth date, the date of your dog's birth, whatever. We sign up for an account. We give it a username and a password, our secret. The system stores it, hopefully securely. And then time passes, right? We go away, we walk the dog, we come back, we want to get into the site. We have to log in again. We give it the same username and password. It goes, it checks what it has stored, and it says, do these match? If they do, yay, welcome. If they don't, well, there's a link you can click for that. So this sounds great. What's the problem? The problem is, there's a lot of problems. Breaches. You have a bunch of passwords stored in one place. If that gets stolen, that's a problem. You have password reuse. Who here has used the same password on more than one site? Yeah, I'm keeping my hand up too. Phishing. Users generate the passwords. Users know the passwords. That means users can give out the passwords. Again, that phone call from Microsoft. Bad secrets. My brain has to memorize a lot. I'm not going to memorize a 30-digit random character password with symbols in it. Poorly stored secrets. This should be a solved problem, but we live in the real world. Not everyone has implemented this correctly. So this isn't a new problem. We've known about this for a while. So how do we make it better? How do we fix this? How do we make passwords as good as they can be? Education. We educate developers, we educate users, we educate companies, we educate decision makers. For users, we educate them on better password generation and better systems of storage. If you can, use a password manager. Use it to generate your passwords, use it to store your passwords, use one that's cross-device. Mac has a great one built in, but if you use an Android, maybe don't use that. LastPass is LastPass. Bitwarden's pretty good, open source. They've done some security audits. I really like them. That's what I use. I want to talk about this password in here for a second. We mock this, but if you're not a high-value target where somebody's going to actually break into your house to get your passwords, and you work from home, this is really secure. This works well. If you work in the office, don't do this. If you are a high-value target, don't do this. If you have bad handwriting, don't do this, right? Is that a 1? Is that an L? All right. So what about the systems? What about the other side, the other piece of education? We need to salt and pepper the passwords, and we need to hash them, and that's how we store them securely. After we salt, pepper, and hash, we can push it real good into the database. Don't forget to do these things. Most of all, what we can do is find a way to make it easier. And again, I would argue password managers are the best way to do that, but it does involve installing something, learning how it works across devices. There is some effort there. That is a big gap. All right. So how do we fix this? Well, do what I do. Use a password manager. Use long, random passwords, different for every site. Store them. And then secure your password manager with a passphrase. Instead of trying to memorize something really complex sounding, that's actually really easy for a computer to guess because it's just a word you put some letters in, come up with something truly random, a random series of words that's easy to remember. It turns out that's actually really secure. So this is kind of a best of both worlds approach that works really well. And that's it. That's as good as passwords get right now. It's good, but it could be better. So that's complicated. Yeah, it is. These are some recent statistics. This is from, where was this one from again? The Password Manager Industry Report and Market Outlook, 2023-2024. I have my passwords memorized. That's code for I use the same password. But there's hope here, right? I mean, I said use a password manager. Looks like 21% of people in 2022, 34% in 2023. Things are trending in the right direction. It's slow, but everything is getting better. Nothing here got worse. It's rare I get to say that these days. So that password manager bit, though, this next bit, this is the thing that confuses me the most. Not just the formatting. This is terrible. I'm not usually a slides person. Do you use your password manager's master password as a password on other accounts? In other words, do you use the single most important password, the keys to the kingdom, in an insecure way? In 2022, 25% of respondents said yes. It's gone up? Okay. And these are the people who are trying, right? They're taking the time to download it. If anybody knows what's going on here, please talk to me afterwards. All right, so this is complicated, right? Now we've gotten to the point where things are complicated. But I have a 3-letter acronym to help you remember, right? We are going to always take the time to salt, pepper, and hash. AT&T. This is important. AT&T now says the data breach impacted 51 million customers. Bleeping computer. The information varied by individual and account, but may have included full name, email address, mailing addresses, phone number, social security number, and date of birth. That quote's from AT&T. A security researcher who analyzed the leaked data told TechCrunch that the encrypted account passwords are easy to decipher. TechCrunch. This is bad. If you're an AT&T customer, PSA, enable two-factor authentication now if you haven't, and maybe look at changing your passcode. This was just this month. This is important because of liability. I think we're going to see some news about AT&T in the legal department soon. I don't want to pick on them. I mean, can you imagine being the poor developer who did that? Like, one, we don't even know if it was actually AT&T or if it was a partner company. We don't know how old the database was. Maybe it was before we knew how to do these things. This stuff is hard. All right. So how do we make it better? By making it harder. Multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication. Hey, if one factor, something you know, a password is good, surely more factors are better. So this does introduce more security with the trade-off of more complexity. There are options, which is great, except the options restrict what the user can do. You can't write your 2FA on a Post-it note under the keyboard. Depending on how you get it, how you have it implemented, you might just be locked out of your account if you don't have access to it. So the common ways are SMS, right? Text me a code. I give you my username and password. That's something I know. You're going to text me a code. I'll input the code. That proves I have my phone. I have now proven I have something I know that you know, a shared secret. And there's this other secret, this code. The secret's not important. It's just there to prove I have the phone. This is pretty secure. This is super convenient, unless you lose your phone. There is a thing called SIM hacking or SIM duplication. Again, if you're like a CEO, a multimillionaire, maybe the president, don't do this. This is not for you. A step up would be app-based two-factor authentication, which I saw many of you are familiar with. Google Authenticator is a good one. Authy is pretty good. That's an app. It works very similar under the hood. It has these temporary shared secrets. The difference is, rather than the server having them and just texting them to you or emailing them to you, you have on your phone in the app the same ability to generate them, and they'll stay in sync. So your phone's just kind of generating the passcodes at the same rate as the server, so you don't have to send it over SMS or email. That's better. And then hardware dongles. Hardware dongles are the best. They're super secure. They're also expensive. They're like $50 a pop. They're tiny. You can lose them, so you got to buy two. but that means you have to set up 2 for every account. Very few people use them except in really high security environments. These are all different kinds of ways of proving you are. These are different factors. This one is something you have. This one is also something you have, your phone. It's proof you have your phone. This, something you have. There are other factors. There's what you are, who you are. Thumbprints, iris scans, Face ID, touch unlock, Windows Hello? Anybody a Windows user? Is that what it's called? Yeah, okay. Those are good. I love those for logging into my computer. But users, they don't want to like have their thumbprint associated with a website. It feels icky. That's not actually how it works, but that's the education piece, right? If I give it my thumbprint and I'm logged into the website, that feels weird. So the really interesting thing here is the different ways the secrets are managed. Here, it lives on the device, and it also lives in the server. So we still have secrets in 2 places. Here, it lives on the device, and it lives in the server. It's stored in 2 places. Here, it lives in the device, or sorry, it only lives in the server, and they send out an ephemeral code. There's nothing on the user side. So these, at the root, work very similarly, but the user experience is very different based on some minor decisions that are made and how it's implemented. And that's going to be a theme we want to keep in mind for Passkeys, which I promise we will get to. Companies love this. It reduces liability. Any of these makes you far safer. Having a second factor makes you more resistant to phishing. There's no way to phish a YubiKey, like literally. There's no way to get the code out of there, really. I mean, without getting physical access. You can phish SMS. That's why people say it's less secure. So if you're like setting something up for a family member, you might want to take that into account. But then applications, they're more complicated. You got to install them. So, all right, this is complicated. Everyone, yeah, users hate this. Users hate MFA. It's annoying. It slows us down. Again, who's had to wait for that code, that text, who has to resend the email? It's no fun. Developers like this. It's easy to implement, and honestly, we feel badass. We feel like secret agents when we make this stuff work. It's pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. Security people and companies love this. It seems more secure, it is more secure, it reduces liability, and that's phenomenal. So we have these different factors, something we know, something we have, something we are, something we know, passwords. Any sort of password-based thing has the same foibles we saw earlier. It's prone to phishing, it's prone to forgetting, it's prone to reuse. Something you have, it's expensive and you can lose it. That's the downside. And something you are, you can't reset it. Users feel creeped out by it, so they don't want to dissociate it in the browser. It doesn't work that way, but when you get in an airplane and they scan your face, you sure they're not storing that? Now, there is prevailing wisdom that hardware tokens are more secure than apps, and apps are more secure than SMS, and that's true. But complexity is the enemy of security. So if something's too complex, users don't use it. Do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Any 2FA is better than no 2FA, and SMS is great. That said, if you're implementing these, give your users the choice. I hate when I don't have the option to use my app. Why? I don't want to wait for the code. It slows me down. I know it's slightly less secure. I'm not a high-value target. Nobody's cloning my phone. But still, it creeps me out a little. Don't just support biometrics unless like, you're in an industry where that's required, in which case you might have to. All right, so now OAuth. Oh, that stuff was history. I said we're not going to talk about federated, and we're not. But it's time for the second PSA. A lot of OAuth flows, third-party sign in with Google. Not all. Again, this is a system that has a lot of options, deserves its own talk. But a lot of them rely on third-party cookies. Anybody know what Google's killing off at the end of the year? Third-party cookies, yeah. Google is breaking sign in with Google. So they're working on it. And Chromium underlines a lot of browsers, and other browsers tend to do what they do. So PSA, if you have auth implemented on your site, keep an eye on this. You might have to make some changes by the end of the year. All right. Before I get into passkeys, any questions on what we've covered so far?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So salt and pepper. I understand adding the salt to a password to hash it to something unique is that's what salt is. But what's pepper?
Yeah, excellent question. So oftentimes, salt is just like a per user random thing that's stored, added to the password and stored with it so that it eliminates the appearance of duplicate passwords. That's good security, but the salt's stored in the database. If somebody gets the whole database, they get the salts. Pepper is not per user. It's another secret. You tend to have one for the whole site. You add that to everyone's salted password before you hash it. And that adds some extra security in case somebody gets access to the salts. Now, the key is you cannot store the pepper in the database. It has to live in memory. So it's like a secret for your site that's not stored, at least not in the database. Most people don't do it. Most people should. Yeah. Yeah.
So you talked about the apps as a multi-factor, but you specifically referred to it as code generation. Would you treat the push notification equivalent of that? Is it, from a security standpoint, is it equivalent or is it more phishable like an SMS?
Yeah, good question. So with any other systems, what's really going on is there is a secret. It's a big, long secret. And that secret is used, I'm getting a little mathy here, but that secret is used with the current time to generate an ephemeral code. You combine them, you do some math, and you get this little 6-digit code, spits out, it expires in 10 minutes. That code is what we check against to say, yeah, you're you. We could either have the server generate that ephemeral code using the secret, and then send it to the user, and then the user types it in. That would be the SMS or email. With the app, what happens is that same secret used to generate the code lives in the app and in the server. And then, assuming clocks are right, they'll generate the same code at the same time. So when we send the code off of our phone app, we get the same thing. I would say that one is not more or less secure. It depends on the threat model. If you're a high-value target, you probably don't want to rely on SMS because you're sending that code in the clear. If somebody gets your password, clones your phone, is looking over your shoulder, not realistic for me, but I'm not that important, that's vulnerable. If you have it being generated by your app, you type it into your browser. If your browser's insecure, you got bigger problems. So theoretically, the app-based one is slightly more secure. I'm not sure I answered the right question.
Oh, so what I meant, so like if you had Google Authenticator.
Yeah.
Most applications, if I register with Google Authenticator, I'm using the code. However, if I log into Google, then it doesn't wait for me to go to the app and find the code. It pops up the push notification. But I'm not entering a code, I'm pressing yes or no. My question is, when I'm not using that code, have I lost some level of security relative to the code, or are they equivalent?
Oh, got it. You know, I haven't thought too much about that in the specific thing where you're logging into the identity provider itself. I would say I trust Google. Really good question. There was another one up there?
Yes. I just want to point out that your phone could just die.
Yes. Thank you.
Not having a chance to recover.
100%. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you. Any others before we move on? Yeah, what's up?
How did you come up with this idea?
Oh, I am just borrowing other people's ideas and trying to communicate them. This is decades of really smart people working really hard, and also people like me working really hard who aren't as smart but just care a lot, and that's okay too. Really good question. Any others before we move on? Yeah.
Just a super quick thing. Anyone that's implementing a password mechanism on their website, there are password-specific hashers. So in honor of Weed Day today, spoke the right hash.
Yes. There are password-specific hashers. Anyone have a real strong opinion about scrypt versus Argon 2? All right. I want to go to that other talk. Yeah.
It's not so much a question, but and security questions are a poor technique too, because those are usually less secure than the password itself. Because like your mother's maiden name, it's public information. You can readily find that. So those are things that you should probably use a password manager for in order to store a random answer. But that adds a lot of friction to whatever the service you're using.
That is a really good point. Most people will not do that. I do that. If you're like really into security, my mother's maiden name? I don't know, it's like lowercase l, ampersand, blah, blah, blah. I store it in my password manager. Yeah, you are right on point. I lost access to my Blizzard account once because they saw that and they were like, yeah, your like answers are gibberish. We think you got hacked. I was like, oh, all right, here's my mother's real maiden name, I guess. I'm less secure now, but you feel good about it.
For that reason, use words, because I've heard of people calling into call centers to reset a password, and they just say, blah, 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 random string of characters, and then they say, yep, sounds right.
You know?
So if you can say correct horse battery stable.
I never thought of that, and that is exactly right. That is a much better way to handle it. Thank you. Yeah, this is awesome. What's that?
My password manager has a bunch of accounts from yesterday that I haven't logged into. What do I do with all of the old accounts that are from the past?
Write your member of Congress. That is a really good question. That is not a problem we can solve. That is a really good question.
What do you think about, for like your mother's maiden name? How more secure would you think were you get to pick the question? Like, what are you wearing? I don't think that's appropriate, or like something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. In general, when you're collecting user information, unless you absolutely need it for the core purpose of the site, or you need it for like industry regulation purposes, whether it be mother's maiden name, gender, anything, either don't collect it or give users the option. That's my philosophy on it. Yeah, it's a really good question. Yeah.
What if someone has your password manager, like not the thing you're logging into, but the password manager that has all your passwords?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like my wife, she hacked my password manager. She downloaded it. She put in my username and password. You're in trouble. Yeah, that's a really good question.
I read an article, I think it was from a site called Unix Ninja, but a guy was testing that correct horse battery stable, and he found out that the XKCD comic is actually a bad implementation.
Yeah.
And then he was able to brute force forward diceware. It's diceware is what it's referencing in like 8 to 22 hours, about the same as like a 8-character Windows hash.
Yeah, this is a really good point.
But yeah, I've had colleagues just kind of send out that comment or that picture and be like, oh, I'm so smart.
Yeah, I think that that's a good comment because both sides think that they're really smart, and both sides probably are, but the devil's really in the details. And that's the stuff we're not talking about, the specific implementation. And with any of these, I suggest you use a library, a well-regarded library, preferably something that's undergone like a third-party security audit, because there are ways to make passphrases secure and passphrases insecure. It all comes down to the concept of entropy, and if you're interested in that, Tackle's an awesome place. One more. Do we have? Yeah.
What would be the issue with using a built-in browser password manager?
Absolutely nothing. It is a fantastic solution as long as you're in the ecosystem. I use an Android phone, and I use Firefox, and I use a lot of apps on my phone, and I don't want to try and get the password out of Firefox to log into the apps when I install them.
Firefox is the system password manager on Android.
We should talk afterwards. Thank you. Yeah, it's a great solution if it supports your use case, which it might do without you realizing. Thank you. Yeah, no, the built-in browser ones are great. All right, so anyone know what time this talk ends?
40.
Okay, so we got 8 minutes. All right, Passkeys. Background, FIDO Alliance. Nobody really remembers what it stands for, but I always think of a cute dog. They've been working at this for decades. That's an exaggeration. They've been working for this for about a decade. It's Yubico, the company that makes YubiKeys. It's Apple, it's Microsoft, it's Google, it's LastPass. It's dozens and dozens of companies that all have a vested interest in making authentication better. Yes. They tried, but then they got bought out by private equity, and their take was hardware. Let's use hardware. Throughout the theme here, hardware's the best. Hardware's the most secure. Hardware's the greatest. Hardware's awesome. We love hardware. Hardware's expensive. It's complicated. Users aren't going to do it. Version 2. All right, so what do? How does this work? What is the basics of this? Public key crypto. Instead of a shared secret, you have a pair of secrets. Either secret can take something, turn it into gibberish, and the other one can change it back. This works both directions. The user has this one and keeps it very secure. It's the key to the kingdom. This one goes out to the world. The user can say, hey, I'm sending in some text that says, hi, I'm Andrew. They use their key to turn it into gibberish. Anyone can use the public one, unscramble it. If it says what the user said it says, we know they are them. This is it. This is what this all relies on. That's the only math we're going to talk about. They built this into the browser. There's a pair of APIs. The WebAuthn API, which existed before Passkeys. Passkeys is basically, what's that? Oh, thank you. WebAuthn, but spelled correctly, API, and CTAP, the Client to Authenticator Protocol API. Essentially, you ask the browser, ask the dongle, ask the hardware, ask the YubiKey, ask whatever piece of hardware you're using to make me a secret. Here's some options. We get some choices. Are you going to use a dongle, or are you going to use the built-in thing on the hardware? Are you going to use Face ID? Are you going to use Windows Hello? Are you going to use Touch ID? This worked great, but it's kind of techy. It didn't really take off. It came out at about the time when built-in biometric stuff was really just coming to fruition and getting really popular. Nobody had a USB key. The WebAuthn API, it's actually fairly simple to use. You give it like 3 things, although one's a big config option. It goes and it talks to the other API. The other API talks to the hardware. Your computer handles the second one. Your browser mostly handles the first one. We just call on it. And that works great. But nobody was using it. So the folks in FIDO got together and said, how do we make this more useful? You know what works well? Having Google manage my passwords. You know what works well? Having Apple manage my passwords. You know what works well? Having a trusted company that's really good at security hold on to my secrets for me. So with Passkeys, you can still do WebAuthn stuff, but you get the added protection of, the added convenience of backup and portability. Passkeys are just a special implementation of the WebAuthn API and the CTAP API. Instead of storing the secret key in a little dongle or on my phone where it's trapped, Passkeys store the secret key on Google servers or Apple servers or Microsoft servers. They then encrypt them with our account passwords, and we have access to them anywhere we have access to our Microsoft, Apple, or Google accounts. They're still working on the whole cross-platform thing, though. So if you log in Safari, or if you create a passkey in Safari, great. Anywhere you have access to your Apple account, you have it. It won't work on my Android phone quite yet. So how do we solve this problem? QR codes and Bluetooth. If I try and log in to my wife's computer in her Safari browser, and I have the passkey stored in my Google account, it just shoots up a QR code, and I take a picture of it. And then my phone will go out to Google, get the passkey, and complete the login for me. This works really well. It's super easy to use when it works really well, but there are challenges. The challenges are complexity. This is shockingly easy to implement with a library. And if you implement it, you should use a library. Because if you don't use a library, there's a lot of complexity around passing raw binary data between the client and the server. And that's not something that a lot of tech stacks make a very easy job. Usually we turn things into human-readable strings to bridge that gap. The problem is the user's ability to manage this is a nightmare. Gone are the days of being able to write it down under your keyboard. Gone are the days of being able to share it with a friend because they want to watch Bluey because their kids are sick and they don't have Disney Plus, but you do. This is difficult on users. What's more, there's a handful of options when you implement this that restrict what the users can do. Would you rather see this? Or would you rather see this with an option that allows you to just take a picture with your phone? Or do you only want to see an option that allows you to take a picture with your phone? Or maybe you're in a really secure environment and only biometrics will do. Or maybe Touch ID will work, and it doesn't have to be biometric. The server makes these choices, and the user lives with them. And what happens from there can be really confusing. If you tell somebody this is a passkey, it's new, a QR code pops up, you take a picture with your phone, you're logged in, wonderful, yay! Next time they see passkeys, it's asking for their fingerprint. There is no picture option. This is a marketing problem, and this is an education problem. So how do we deal with complexity? The answer really hasn't changed. The solution? Education. Education, exposure, time, and maturity. The standard is still evolving. It's quite long. That's another good reason to use the libraries. This is the slide where I suggest you, oh, I went the wrong direction. This is the slide where I suggest you take pictures if you want. These are great resources. These are some stellar guides on implementation, the details of how it works. There's a link to the spec, which is fantastic to reference. Use a library. These are lists of libraries. And then 2 really fantastic videos. There's one more elephant in the room. Anyone know who said this? The reports of my death are greatly exaggerated? No. Internet Explorer. Tech never dies, right? I really don't think passwords are going away in the next 5 years. I know people who don't have a phone that can do this stuff. Older versions of browsers can't do this stuff. The reality is we're going to have to support the new modern systems alongside legacy systems for a good long while. That comes with its own challenges. And remember, we're only secure as our weakest link. Passwords? Passkeys, super secure. If a user has both, I know which one I'm going after if I'm a hacker. This is actually real. This is on the rooftop of a cafe in South Korea, which is pretty cool. But there's hope. Same chart as earlier. I just went further down. I use a passkey, a security passkey, or other physical password device. 2022, nothing. 2023, 10%. We're trending in the right direction. There's hope here, folks. Image credits, I'm going to go through quickly. I stole these off the internet. Questions? No promises, I have answers. Yeah?
The passkey open you the same kind of vulnerabilities as you writing something down. So for example, if you use a passkey for your PayPal account, someone gets in your house, turn on your computer, they can get into your PayPal account without any password, right?
That's a really good question. Hopefully you use a password on your computer. You might not if you're at home. Maybe you have Touch ID to unlock it. It is the weakest link problem. This is a really good question, and it comes down to they are resistant. There's no perfect security. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about things like pins in Windows that are passwords backed by TPM?
It's basically what a passkey is. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So with the passkey option of like scanning a QR code, couple things that I guess concern me with that. First of all, I feel like encouraging people to just scan QR codes is a very dangerous thing to encourage.
Yep.
QR codes are a really great vector.
Yep.
For attack. And I guess the other concern I have with that is that I feel like that because of that, that also would be a really perfect vector for phishing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Ideally, we want to get to the point with adoption and honestly just old hardware phasing out where we don't have to use that option. We can just kind of Google, Apple, they'll take care of it for us and be available. You're absolutely right.
So the issue with the authenticators is that now we're
Yeah, that's a really good question. I want to make sure I'm interpreting it correctly. So correct me if I'm addressing the wrong point, but I think this is a bigger problem because users are bombarded with things, right? Do you want cookies? Click this link to log in. Now there's a two-factor, right? It's fatigue. So one thing they're working on is getting rid of third-party cookies so those annoying things go away. The other thing they're looking is just getting feedback, finding the rough spots. This stuff works really good in theory. In reality, there's not a lot of big iron infrastructure companies out there that are running passkeys, and the ones that are the ones who are making the standard. In terms of what's coming next, I'm not sure specifics. All right, we'll wrap up there because I'm sure there's somebody else who wants to present, but I'll hang around afterwards for other questions. Thank you all for coming.